It was early 2020, and I was still a sophomore in high school when every morning my teacher would put on the news for us. Now, there was a lot of news that stood out for us as a high schooler. There was the there was when people rushed Area 51 in order to find aliens. There was also the news when the Amazon rainforest was burning down. But the one that stuck with us the most, of course, was when COVID-19 hit China. Now, the way that COVID-19 affected me in that time was that I was no longer able to go to school anymore. But COVID-19 affected many people in many different ways. I have done research over the last month online, but I have also been conducting research over the last couple of years by asking people how COVID has affected them personally. Now, COVID has affected people socially, economically, and physically in the United States. The one that has affected people the most in unison is the social aspect of COVID-19. Now, in early COVID-19, the United States applied a lockdown. Now, this lockdown forced people to stay at home unless it was an absolute emergency to leave. Now, what this did was create a large nationwide panic. People did not know when the next time that they would be able to go outside would be, so they decided to all go to stores and buy as many supplies as they could. Now, not only did COVID-19 create a panic, but it also made people have to wear masks at all times if they were not at home. That was one of the rules, but another rule that it implied was that people, when outside of their house, had to always be socially distanced, which means they had to be more than 6 feet away from anybody else at all times. Not only was there applied rules by the government, but there were also rules that were unspoken. So according to the website, what share of people above the age of 65 were affected by COVID-19, people above the age of 65 were much more prone to the long-lasting effects of COVID and death, of course. COVID-induced death. What this induced was that people of younger age did not want to leave their house because they wanted to keep their loved ones safe. Not only did COVID-19 affect society, but it affected people economically as well. The way that the economy works, people have to be earning money and also spending money at the same time for the economy to be constantly flowing. Now, during COVID, people were no longer spending money because they did not know when the next time that they would be able to make money would be. So, this was very detrimental to the economy in general. So, what the United States did to combat that was they created PPP loans where they gave $800 billion to businesses all around the United States in order to fund people and fund their business. And they also gave $803 billion worth of stimulus checks to people in order to fund their day-to-day lives. Although this was good for the businesses and the people, the government debt rose from $23 trillion to $31 trillion in just 2 years, as well as inflation increased a lot. Not only did it affect the government, but it also affected people in the United States. People in just the second quarter of 2020, 1.2 million people lost their jobs, and 700,000 people lost establishments and businesses. This is according to the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States. This caused supply chain problems because people were much more prone to buy things online, which meant ports were congested and there were less truck drivers to bring things from the ports to businesses. Although both economic and social aspects of COVID-19 are important, there's nothing more important than the aspects of the problems of health. Now, there are many different ways that COVID affected health, but the most likely symptoms that you would get would be shortness of breath, the loss of taste and smell, and weakness all around. But these sometimes turn into long-term effects as well. Parasomia can last up to 18 months, and it is the permanent loss of taste and smell, which a lot of people go through after COVID-19. And people that are more heavily affected by COVID-19 also get scarring in their lungs that damages them, and it takes from months to years to recover from. And this is according to Hopkins Medicine. Now, the most sad part of COVID-19, of course, is the deaths. From November 11th, 2022, 6,614,466 people died due to COVID-19. This is according to Worldometer's info. Nonetheless, COVID has affected many people in many different ways. From the lockdowns and the panic that it induced, from the new rules including masks and social distancing, and the unwritten rules of helping people that we love, but also affecting the economy by creating inflation caused by PPP loans and stimulus checks, as well as increasing the overall debt in the United States, and also by making people lose their jobs and lose their businesses. There was also the long-term and short-term health problems and the very, very sad, tragic deaths. Now, COVID seems to be coming to an end, which is very good, but it is our job to learn from what people have gone through and to live on for the people that have suffered and for the people that have died due to COVID-19.